Hi everybody, it's Terry Ryder of hotspotting.com.au, bringing you my weekly edition of Hotspot of the Week. A little bit different this week, normally on a Tuesday evening, but I was travelling last night, so slightly different conditions. I'm in Melbourne to do a seminar with investors today, and this evening I'll be doing a live webinar with a difference with Jane Slack-Smith, who is a mortgage broker and renovation specialist, talking about selection of property. We're going to be going through 5 examples of property on the market at different parts of Australia at the moment, talking about the pros and cons of those properties, why we would or would not invest in those properties. But anyway, Hotspot of the Week, and I'm going to kind of combine Hotspot of the Week today with one of my themes at the moment, which is highlighting areas where property prices are growing, contrary to that general media theme telling us that prices are falling across the country. It isn't so. There was some research analysis out this week from CoreLogic looking at the 88 sub-regions that the Australian Bureau of Statistics uses to collect data, and finding that in about half of them prices are higher than they were 12 months ago. So half the sub-regions across Australia have rising prices, and in many cases prices rising higher than their 5-year averages, according to that analysis. Now, one of the places that really stands out as a place with good price growth at the moment, as a consequence of the sort of growth drivers that we look for, is the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. So I want to highlight that region today as the hotspot of the week, and also as an example of a region where there is strong price growth happening at the moment, contrary to that media theme. The Sunshine Coast is an area that we've been highlighting for the last couple of years because of the growth drivers in that market. Previously, we have not been a massive fan of the Sunshine Coast because it's been essentially a tourism-based market, and tourism economies tend to be very fragile, very fickle, and don't often produce long-term sustainable growth in their local property prices. That's changed. The Sunshine Coast has been what I call an evolution economy. It's evolving into more of a well-rounded regional city with a diversity to its economy, and we are seeing new industries created, new economic sectors, such as a medical precinct that didn't exist before, $2 billion university hospital, beside which have been built other medical facilities like a private hospital. A whole precinct has sprung up. Long term, it's a $5 billion undertaking. Still a work in progress, but it's just created a whole extra industry to the Sunshine Coast. A lot more happening there. The total infrastructure spend underway or in planning for the Sunshine Coast at the moment is more than $20 billion, including expansion of the airport, work on the main highway inland from the coastal strip, the evolution of the new Maroochydore CBD, which is a 20-year or more project, which is now underway, and a whole lot more. Now, massive spending, lots of investment, lots of generation of jobs, encouraging new population growth, new people coming into work in the new medical precinct, for example, which is bringing people that are earning good money into the Sunshine Coast, and they're all obviously needing somewhere to live. So that's created demand in the real estate market. So as a consequence of that, I've just been going through the regional Queensland section of our quarterly research into sales volumes, and certainly the Sunshine Coast is the #1 local government area, not only in regional Queensland but in all of Queensland, including Brisbane at the moment, in terms of suburbs with rising demand, and that has translated into strong price growth. So just as some examples, I've got a list here. I made a list as I went through the Queensland locations, every town and suburb in Queensland, and found that in regional Queensland, most of the locations with double-digit annual growth in their property prices in the last 12 months have been locations on the Sunshine Coast. For example, Noosa has come to life after many years of being in the doldrums. The median house price for Noosa has risen 14%. The median unit price is up 12%. Nearby Sunrise Beach is up 10% and Sunshine Beach is up 17%. But you go around the Sunshine Coast, there's just a long list of locations. Battery Hill up 12%, Coolin Beach up 12%, Doonan's up 14%, Twin Waters, one of the more expensive residential areas of the Sunshine Coast, median price up 11% to more than 800,000. Mount Coolum's up 22% to 675,000. There's one example here, I'm not sure I believe the figure's probably a statistical aberration, but it says for Minyama, which is one of the, probably the priciest area of the Sunshine Coast, median house price 1.3 million. It's sort of a canal-based residential area, but according to the latest CoreLogic figures, in the last 12 months, the median price has risen 46% in Minyama. Not sure I believe that means that property values are rising to that degree, but nevertheless, that's what the figure says. Most of the location on the Sunshine Coast on this list have risen somewhere between 10 and 15, 16, 17%. So it's pretty good growth. It's been underway for a couple of years. There's more to come because the evolution of this economy and that property market is really only just getting started. I think this is becoming a serious player in the Australian economy and in the Australian property market. So it qualifies as a hotspot of the week for all those reasons. It's just another of those locations that I'm highlighting at the moment where property prices are rising strongly in contrast to that general media theme of telling us that values are falling everywhere. And the Sunshine Coast is further proof that that just isn't so. So that's for now. That's Hotspot of the Week from Terry Ryder of Hotspotting signing off. We'll talk to you again soon.